Pulse 95.
Sharing success stories of the UAE. Make a cup of tea. This is Afternoon Karak with Aisha Al-Mazmi and Mikhail Atiyah.
You're listening to Pulse 95.
Pulse.
Hello and welcome back. This is Mikhail Atiyah, and I'm joined here by my lovely co-host Aisha Al-Mazmi.
Hello.
And today is a special day because today is our first official guest here at the show, Afternoon Karak 2.0. We have joined with us Dr. Jacques du Preez. He is a veterinarian at the Sharjah Cat and Dog Shelter. Now, to a lot of us out there, especially here, the citizens of Sharjah, whether we're driving or walking around in our public areas, one of the things that we all notice, but also kind of subconsciously ignore, is the stray animals. Specifically, and for me, when I go around, I always see a lot of stray cats near the cafeterias, the parks, everywhere. And to us, a lot of us, you know, like what's your feeling towards that, Aisha?
I want to hug them all, to be honest.
Yeah?
I want to take them all home and hug them all because I'm a big cat person, so seeing them all, make friends with them. But what we don't realize is that there is an entire group of people who are working towards it, and they're working.
They're going above and beyond to ensure that the stray animals here in Sharjah are taken care of. And we got here Dr. Jack to tell us more about it. How you doing?
Good, and you?
Good. So tell us, how long you been here in Sharjah for?
I've been here since March of 2017. So yeah, and I've been working at the shelter since then.
That's great. Maybe to our listeners out there who don't know a lot about the Sharjah shelter itself, when did it come to be?
It initially started in 2009. Initially it was under the Sharjah city municipality. But then 2015 or 16 it was moved under the management of the Environment and Protected Areas Authority, or EPAA in short. And since then, it's been under their care, and I'm employed by them to work at the shelter.
Do you feel the expansion of the shelter itself was necessary?
Yes, I mean, there's always, even now, there's always a problem with limited space for the amount of animals that we deal with. At the moment the shelter is sufficient for what we have to do, but there's always room for expansion in the future, but we'll see how it goes.
That's really great because, you know, to a lot of us out there, we can't help but dismiss most of the stray animals that roam around our city, you know, and it's great that there's a shelter out there that takes care of them. But a lot of people might not even know what are usually the problems that go around when you have to operate the shelter here in Sharjah. Can you tell us more about that? All right.
Most shelters around the world, usually one of the challenges they face is funding. But fortunately, because we fall under the EPAA of Sharjah government, we are in a fortunate position where that is not a major limitation. Obviously, we operate within approved budgets and all of that, but it's still not a big challenge that other shelters elsewhere might face. And then obviously also to have enough staff available to deal with and the qualified staff to deal with all the different aspects of a shelter. I mean, you have people from the veterinarians to the trainers that are needed ideally, people dealing with the public when there's concerns that know how to deal with all these issues. And then all the way down to the handlers and people that need to actually physically restrain the animals and clean the cages, which all of them need to have the necessary training to know how to do it safely to prevent themselves being bitten or injured in any way, and also to avoid any distress to the animal and to keep it as safe as possible and calm for everyone.
That's really amazing to see that you guys, it's not just any kind of shelter. You guys have all the necessary services and medical treatment that you can provide to the cats and dogs, right?
We aren't a clinic that we are not open to the public as a clinic per se, but we have all the necessary equipment to and the facilities to deal with any of the problems we face with the animals already in the shelter, which includes the surgeries we do for the sterilizations. If there's any injuries or diseases that they pick up, we have all the things to treat these issues.
When it
That seems like a massive group of hardworking people, and we will come in and after a short break to learn more about what the shelter is doing and what this lovely group of people are doing, only here on Afternoon Karak on Pulse 95.
Pulse 95.
Make a hot cuppa and relax. It's Afternoon Karak with Aisha Al-Mazmi and Mikhail Atiyah.
On Pulse 95.
Hello and welcome back to Afternoon Karak with myself, Aisha Al-Mazmi and Mikhail Atiyah, and we have a special guest from Sharjah Cats and Dogs Shelter, Dr. Jacques. And right before the break, we were talking about the shelter itself and what they do. So can you please tell us more about the shelter? What services do you have, etc.?
Right, so before the break I mentioned that we're not open to the public as a clinic to treat their animals, but of course we are open to the public dealing with complaints and also to receive animals that they choose to surrender to the shelter. So many people think that the Sharjah Cat and Dog Shelter, or SCADS in short as we refer to it, only serves the city of Sharjah, but in fact because it falls under the EPAA, we serve the entire Sharjah Emirate, including the eastern regions. Obviously our team focuses on the surroundings in the city of Sharjah, but other municipalities like Al Madam and Al Hamriya, they also have teams that bring stray animals to us from time to time. I also have a list of basic things that we do at the shelter just to put it all together. So obviously, we have active outreach to raise community awareness of what we do in the shelter, and something like this radio interview is an example. Then we provide as good as possible veterinary health care to the shelter animals, and then we advise the community on these things when we do get to talk to the public. Then we advocate humane and respectful treatment of all animals that pass through the shelter, being dogs and cats the only species we deal with. Then we do active vaccination and sterilization of the stray cat population. We'll get into that a bit later. It's a thing called trap, neuter and return.
Yeah.
Then we do disease screening of some of the stray animals passing through the shelter, just to monitor what is out there regarding some of the diseases that cats and dogs have. Then we respond and investigate public complaints regarding stray dogs and cats, and then again we try to educate the public regarding safe animal interactions, avoiding diseases like rabies, and promoting responsible pet ownership. And yeah, we try and teach compassion and responsible behavior towards animals to improve their lives, and we try and, by doing that, we try and prevent cruelty to animals and encourage the humane treatment of all
that's
animals.
certainly very important. People need to know, and people should be aware that animals have rights as well. They should be protected, and they should be taken care of.
Definitely, yes.
And not to be mistreated. I'm sure you're very passionate about the stray animals, sort of like life, the sort of misery that they could experience out in the public, the ones that you can't reach out to.
Yes.
Right? Like, for example, I think I told you during the break of a story when I was heading to the Sharjah Equestrian Club. And there was one time I saw a family car right in front of me, and it was right beside the animal shelter that you work at. And I noticed that they opened the trunk and they pulled out their dog. And their dog was just sort of like sitting there waiting for them to come out. But they didn't come out of the car. They just went back in and drove off. And he actually tried to chase them, you know, and...
Probably going back to... Thinking that it'll go back to his family, or they left him by mistake.
It was a sad sight, indeed. I kept watching it until the car drove all the way from sight, and the dog just stopped running. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to ask, do you get a lot of these sort of cases that at your shelter?
Unfortunately, yes. It is a problem that we deal with. There's many reasons for this. Sometimes people simply do not respect the hours that we are open at the shelter, and if they arrive there and the gate is closed, they simply just dump the animals outside, being cats or dogs. Mm-hmm. Other reasons are just often people that don't want to face the responsibility or be seen to not want to care for the animals anymore, so they sometimes even send the driver or someone to bring the animals, and they themselves never actually bring their own animals to us, the ones that actually do end up bringing it to our facility. But yeah, it is a serious problem, and I would just also like to remind the public that abandoning an animal on the streets or throwing it out like that, it is punishable by federal law. It is an illegal activity. Mm-hmm. And we as a shelter, in cases where we do manage to see this happening, we do record as much details of the vehicle, and we do report it to the Sharjah police to take it further.
And I'm sure to all our listeners out there, if you do see somebody mistreating the animals wherever you are, be sure to report it, because you can't. One of my regrets is not reporting that, what I've seen. And I want to learn from that lesson, and to everyone out there to be aware that you shouldn't. That animals have rights, you should protect them. Yes. And don't let other people mistreat animals.
Yes, definitely.
We as citizens have social responsibility on this matter. Indeed.
We definitely do, and we'd like to learn more about the responsibilities and actions us as people, how the citizens of Sharjah, of the UAE, how do we react and what do we do to take care of the stray cats and dogs out there, and also how to help you guys with your work and your responsibilities. So stay tuned, and also text us on 4215 with any questions. Stay tuned with myself, Aisha Al-Mazmi, Mikhail Atli, and Dr. Jack, only here on Pulse 95.
Pulse 95.
Make a hot cuppa and relax. It's Afternoon Karak with Aisha Al-Mazmi and Mikhail Atiyah
on Pulse 95.
Hello and welcome back to the Afternoon Karak. Today we invited first official guest, Dr. Jack. He's a veterinarian from the Sharjah Cat and Dog Shelter, and we're talking everything about what they do and how it impacts Sharjah and the stray animals. And our next concern actually is, how does this overpopulation of stray animals, how does it come to be, Dr. Jack?
All right, so everywhere in the world where there's big cities or human settlements, there's usually an associated problem of stray, or I'll rather refer to it as feral animals. So firstly, with stray animals, you get different, it's a broad category of outdoor animals. I'll stick to cats for this purpose of this discussion, but with outdoor cats, you have normal house pets that are allowed to walk outside. They will avoid humans that are not their owners. They might look kind of wild, but at night or whenever they return back to their home and goes and cuddles with their owners and all these things, they are not seen as feral cats. Feral cats would be seen as cats that have been living outdoors for a few generations. They're completely wild. They might come up to humans, but it's mostly just for food. There's no other motivation really in them coming up to humans. and they can never be house pets. They don't have they kind of revert back to almost a wild state. They are still the same species and seen as domestic cats, but they cannot be kept as pets ever. Even their offspring have this wildness to them, so those kittens, even if you were to raise it as from a young age, they often have strange behaviors, like randomly attacking people, or just being very difficult to
it's
own.
in their instincts.
Yes.
Yeah.
So basically, sorry, just like my cat, basically, because my cat herself, she was a stray, and I got her off the street, and even though she was below a year old, she's very cuddly. She even has proper nap times with me and whatnot. She has those moments when her eyes go really wide and she just feels like attacking, and she just wants to run around. So when she does that, we know it's playtime, but it's attack playtime. So I give her something to play and she'll just run off somewhere. She gets over it, she's back to normal again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Obviously, any cat will have that playfulness, but the ones growing up with humans and have been properly been with humans all their life, it's almost a kind of inhibition of those wild behaviors that they have. So it's not as wild that it causes too much problems. Obviously, there are the exceptions. But yeah, how it comes about, usually it's a very complicated thing of how these stray animals come about. But obviously, they need to start somewhere, and that is by it's directly linked to humans. We cause it, the problem ourselves, and it's also a factor of just how fertile these animals are and how quickly they can become quite many. Just to give you an idea of the numbers, for instance, if you had an island with unlimited food for cats, and you started off with just two, one male and one female, within 7 years it will be over 400,000 cats.
Wow, over 400,000.
Assuming all their offspring can survive.
Wow.
and all of that. And that's just in 7 years. Obviously, in a real life situation, many die. Many don't even survive up to the age of 6 months due to disease and all these things. So it's not obviously we would have cats in every street corner if it was the reality in real life. But it's just to show how quickly cats can become a problem. And the reason is also in a way by us humans feeding these cats. Cats outdoor is not a big problem in the sense of controlling something like rats. That's a good function, but a cat is a smart animal, and they're also very lazy. So if
once they find that comfort, they just
if
stick
there's
to
comfort and warmth and food being given by humans, whether it's proper cat food or human food from some restaurant, or even if it's just from the trash bins that are left open, they won't go out hunting. The rats will just run past them, and they would not even try and do anything. So yes, they have a function of that where they can control vermin and these things, but as long as we humans feed them and they are not sterilized, they will just reproduce uncontrollably. And also they show all these behaviors associated with their breeding cycles and things, like the vocalization that where they at night make a lot of noise. That's normal for cats to do that, but it's associated with their breeding season. Also, it should be actually now when the main breeding season starts.
So it's just going to add up here in Sharjah.
Yes.
Well, so what can we do to resolve this stray epidemic? I remember you said early in the hour there was a certain process that you do here at the shelter. Can you tell us about that?
So it's called a TNR in short, trap, neuter, return, or trap, neuter, release by some. Basically, we go, if someone calls the shelter and complains about stray cats that they have a problem with, these animals, then we send a team that put the traps, special humane traps that have some food inside, and as the cat walks inside, the door closes behind it. Our team then brings it back to the shelter as soon as possible, usually in the same day or the next morning, and then we check them, and if they have no signs of obvious severe injury or disease, we vaccinate them then, and we sterilize them. We also mark that we have sterilized them by removing a little tip of the left ear. Mm-hmm. It's just a way of easily marking that they have been sterilized. Mm-hmm. And then we release them. We usually take them back to the same area to keep ecological balance, because cats are very territorial. Yes. So that's also a part of the problem why cats go uncontrollably in numbers, is people see a lot of cats and maybe they just catch them and drive somewhere and go and dump them somewhere else. Mm-hmm. That will just lead to more cats coming into your area, because now there's an open new territory with no cats. So that's why we send cats back to the same area, because even though they are sterilized, they will still maintain their territorial areas. Mm-hmm. And this keeps any new cats out.
It's like an overtime domino effect.
Yes, right? So after they've been sterilized, they will still live out their life, and just slowly the numbers will decrease because they don't reproduce. Yes.
Well, certainly this is something that the shelter, I mean, you guys are doing kind of like the sort of the work that nobody, it's kind of like you guys are the unsung heroes of Sharjah. And it's something we definitely need. And to all our avid listeners, you know, this is a serious problem. The stray animals in Sharjah are something that we need to deal with. And I'm glad that Dr. Jack is here with us here at the studio to talk more about it. But we'll be taking a short break, and we'll be wrapping up this hour right here on the Afternoon Karak on Pulse 95.
Pulse 95.
Make a hot cuppa and relax. It's Afternoon Karak with Aisha Al-Mazmi and Mikhail Atiyah
on Pulse 95.
Hello, lovely golden sunny afternoon here on Pulse 95 in Sharjah. Do you like my new intros?
I love it.
You love them?
Yeah, I might do them myself. I just need to think about it.
Just make your different ones. Please do not steal my ideas.
Of course.
I'd appreciate that. Thank you. So right here we have with us is Dr. Jacques from the Sharjah shelter, cat and dog shelter, and he's giving us some advice about what to do with strays and what their efforts in controlling the stray population in Sharjah. And we usually have some kind of cut question that we'd like to give to our guests. And our question is, Dr. Jacques, are you a cat or a dog person?
Well, definitely have to say I'm a cat person.
Ooh, yes. Team Cat is winning. Team Cat is winning so far.
I'm sort of somewhere
You're
in between.
You're in between?
Yeah.
Because I call myself a cat person as well, but I do have favorite dogs as well, favorite dog breeds. But I am Team Cat through and through. So for all those people who are Team Cat or Team Dog all across Sharjah, all across the UAE, what do you want to tell them in terms of how do they help you guys? Are they in volunteering programs, outreach programs, or even within the comfort of their homes? What can they do to help you guys?
All right. So at the moment, we at the shelter don't have a specific volunteer program. Mm-hmm. That is something we are looking into to getting. It used to be there before, quite a while back, before I started there, but it is something that we are looking into getting it back on track, just to help us with our day-to-day things. But there are many things that the public can do, not specifically necessarily to help us, but just in general with this problem of stray animals. One would be to have their own pets sterilized. Sterilization is a controversial topic that we won't be discussing it in too much detail today, but it has in the end, if you look at a population level and with the individual animal, it has a lot of benefits. both from protecting them of certain diseases associated with remaining intact, to also protecting them from getting into fights with other animals outside, because when it's breeding season, these, especially male cats, they are very territorial and they want to get to those specific females in the area that are on heat, and they do fight quite viciously, and there's often a lot of severe injuries that they pick up. So your cat could come back with massive injuries that it picked up from some cats in the street, and that's also how a lot of diseases spread with your cats going out and mating with street cats. They pick up some diseases like FIV, FELV, and Pandecapenia viruses, and all these things. And all these can be and are mostly fatal diseases, and it's mostly not even vaccinated for on a routine basis, especially FIV and FELV. So to protect your own cats from coming into contact with these territorial street cats that might not be sterilized yet, please, it's a good thing to sterilize your cats, and obviously also have both your cats and dogs keep their vaccinations up to date yearly. It must be done every year, especially for rabies, but also the other diseases.
And to people out there, because we're nearing the end of the show, but to people who want to know more or need some information or inquiries, what kind of social handle or any way they can reach out to you guys?
All right. So yes, the main social media portal that we have at this stage, and the most active one, is the Instagram page. The handle is Sharjah CDS, so it's SHARJAH CDS. On there you will find also on the profile description you will find the email address and contact numbers. We are open from Sunday to Thursday, 7:30 till 2:30. And we also have every now and again in the winter months adoption days over the weekend when we are open.
Oh, so do you have adoption days? Because we usually see unofficial volunteer groups. They're the ones up in adoption days. I had no idea that there are any. Yes. So that's great, honestly, because it kind of tells people that they should be adopting. Adopt on shop. That's the motto or what people try to advocate for. So that is wonderful, and it's great seeing what is going on over there at the shelter. And you guys deserve a massive round of applause from us over here at Pulse 95.
I just want to say on behalf of all of us here, we have a lot of great respect and admiration for you people, because I know what you guys do is not easy. It's a tough job every day in and out, doing what you can, and you serve so much for Sharjah, and we here at the show, we want to thank you for that, you and your team especially.
Definitely.
And it was a pleasure having you here, Dr. Jack. But we must wrap up the show.
We must, unfortunately, even though we want to talk a lot more.
Certainly.
And because, of course, we're animal lovers, and I'm pretty sure a lot of here in Sharjah love animals, and we'd like to know more, so we'd love to have you another day, of course, Dr. Jacques. So we're going to have to wrap up today, but so it's okay. We'll be back tomorrow, inshallah. We will not have Trivia Thursday. We have a special celebration tomorrow, Mikhail and I. So hopefully you guys will stay tuned with Mikhail and I over here on Pulse 95, only on Afternoon Karak. So goodbye. And sunny, wonderful good night to all of you on Pulse 95.
Pulse 95.
Make a hot cuppa and relax. Afternoon Karak with Aisha Al-Mazmi and Mikhail Atiyah.
On Pulse 95.